Most of us automatically divide our feelings into two warring camps. You experience joy, calm, and enthusiasm, and you label those emotions as good. You experience anxiety, frustration, and depression, and you quickly label those as bad. This diagram illustrates exactly how we visualize that mental divide, and it reveals why our daily emotional management usually fails. When we feel a negative emotion, we try to cross the gap directly, forcing ourselves to jump straight from sadness over to joy. But the brain code, the underlying biology of our feelings, operates on a completely different axis. Our neural circuitry does not divide emotions into positive versus negative. The true biological dividing line is active versus passive. Look at how this changes the map. Emotions we normally think of as absolute opposites, like euphoria and intense anxiety, actually cluster tightly together at the extreme top of this scale. They share the exact same biological signature, a massive increase in brain activity. On the flip side, anxiety and sadness, two feelings we usually lump together in the bad category, are actually polar biological opposites. One redlines your brain's energy output, while the other completely shuts it down. As long as we treat our emotions as a moral battle between good and evil, we remain powerless to fix them. To understand severe mood disorders, or even just control our daily psychological states, we have to examine the evolutionary energy dial controlling them. Let's turn that dial all the way down to the passive extreme. In places like Sweden, where winters are incredibly dark and harsh, high rates of seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, take hold, bringing on heavy feelings of depression and apathy. For our primitive ancestors facing those same freezing, dark months, food was extremely scarce. Maintaining a high energy state during a harsh winter would burn calories they couldn't easily replace. It was a fast track to starvation. Those heavy, apathetic feelings served a precise biological purpose. Depressed individuals think less, use their muscles less, and sit still. By forcing the body into this low power mode, the brain conserved vital energy, allowing early humans to survive on minimal food and water. This forced inactivity isn't exclusively tied to winter snows. The exact same passive state appears among farmers during agricultural fallow seasons, when there is little to no manual labor available to them. SAD persists as a remnant of our evolutionary brain code, a survival mechanism that once allowed us to weather the harshest environmental conditions. Now, crank that same biological dial to the absolute top. This is the extreme active end of the spectrum, where bipolar disorder resides. Here, the brain generates turbulent, hyperactive spikes of emotion, switching instantly from overwhelming joy to uncontrollable anger. Psychiatrists define this clinical state as psychomotor restlessness. It is an incessant urge to be active. The brain runs in a continuous, high-energy overdrive, completely detached from physical realities. A person in a manic state will literally stop feeling hungry or tired. Why would evolution build such a volatile mechanism? Imagine early humans facing a violent territorial conflict or a pack of hungry predators. Surviving required fighting at peak physical and cognitive capacity, ignoring all distractions, for days on end without sleep. Humanity eventually figured out how to artificially trigger this evolutionary overdrive for modern warfare. During World War II, some Wehrmacht troops were covertly given stimulant pills that forced their brains into a manic state, allowing them to fight bravely for days continuously without resting. By the end of the war, Adolf Hitler himself was kept in a permanent, artificially induced manic state, fueled by a heavy cocktail of stimulants administered by his personal physician. Today, we have medical tools like lithium, a naturally occurring mineral that helps stabilize the brain's mood dial. Without intervention, however, that extreme, sustained manic activity completely drains the body's resources, inevitably resulting in a total physical collapse. The active pole is essentially a biological reactor. It evolved to facilitate incredible feats of survival, but if the energy dial gets stuck at maximum volume, it destroys the machinery it was meant to protect. The extreme states of seasonal affective disorder and bipolar mania might seem distant, but that exact same biological energy dial is what controls your daily frustrations, your sudden anxieties, and your moments of peace. Our emotional management often fails because we attempt transitions that fight our own biology. Research shows it is much easier for the brain to move between two emotions at the same end of the spectrum than to jump from a high-activity state, like anxiety, to a passive one, like sadness. This matrix charts the actionable solution, the lateral shift. If you want to successfully change your emotional state, you have to swap your current feeling for a positive emotion that operates at the exact same energy level. If you are stuck at the bottom in a passive, negative state, like sadness or exhaustion, don't try to force enthusiasm. Shift laterally. Aim for a passive, positive state, like calm, peace, or gratitude. Conversely, if you are trapped at the top in an active negative state, like anxiety or anger, calm is out of reach. Shift laterally across the active axis. Convert that high-energy panic into a high-energy positive state, like excitement, eagerness, or curiosity. The physiological trigger for this shift is surprisingly practical. Intensely focus on the specific sights, smells, and physical tactile sensations of a past memory where you felt that target emotion. By concentrating on those sensory details, the brain literally copies the positive emotion from your past into your present. Understanding this code allows us to stop treating our emotions as enemies. We are simply living within an evolutionary spectrum, and we finally know how to navigate it.